Welcome to Pillow Academy. Tonight, we're going to explore something you've felt today, something you'll feel tomorrow, something so woven into modern life that you might not even notice it's there until it overwhelms you. Tonight, we're learning about stress, not just the feeling, the entire system, how your mind perceives a threat, how your body responds, why temporary stress can help but chronic stress destroys, what happens when worry spirals, how trauma changes everything, and most importantly, how you cope, how you adapt, and how you can work with your stress system rather than being controlled by it. This might be the most personally relevant lecture we've created, because stress isn't abstract, it's not distant. It's happening in your body right now as you lie here. Your stress system is always active, always monitoring, always deciding whether this moment is safe or dangerous. And here's what makes this lecture perfect for tonight. Understanding stress helps release it. Learning about your body's stress response while feeling safe and relaxed creates wisdom that can't be taught any other way. You'll understand the storm while experiencing calm. You'll map the territory of tension while feeling peace. If you find this helpful, if you enjoy falling asleep to in-depth psychological and scientific content, consider subscribing to Pillow Academy. We create college-level lectures designed specifically for sleep learning. New content every week on psychology, neuroscience, philosophy, and more. Subscribe so you never miss a journey into knowledge and rest. And we'd love to know, where are you falling asleep from tonight? Drop your city or country in the comments below. We're building a global community of curious minds. Now, before we begin, find the most comfortable position possible. Let your body settle completely. Let it be held by whatever surface is beneath you. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Let your jaw relax, teeth slightly apart. Let your tongue rest gently in your mouth. Notice any tension anywhere in your body, your neck, your lower back, your hands, and consciously release it. Let it drain away like water, pulled by gravity, leaving you heavy and still. Close your eyes if you'd like, or keep them open, soft and unfocused. Either way is fine. There's nothing you need to do but listen. And even listening is optional. You can drift. You can let your attention wander like clouds across a wide sky. You can fall asleep whenever your body is ready. Your brain will continue processing this information even as consciousness fades. Even if you fall asleep in the next few minutes, the understanding will reach you. It will integrate while you rest. You'll comprehend stress more deeply, not despite falling asleep, but because of it. So there's no pressure, no test at the end, no need to remember every detail. Just let this knowledge wash over you like gentle rain on a still lake. Tonight, we'll explore what stress actually is. Not the vague feeling, but the specific biological cascade. We'll understand your internal weather system, how storms are detected, how your body mobilizes, how the emergency response works. We'll see why chronic stress is so harmful, what it does when the storm never clears. We'll examine the psychology of stress, why the same situation stresses one person but not another, how your thoughts shape your weather, why control matters so much. We'll explore trauma and how overwhelming storms can permanently alter your climate system. And we'll learn about coping, the healthy and unhealthy ways people manage internal weather, what actually works according to research, and how resilience develops. But we won't rush. There's no hurry. We have all night, or however long you need before sleep takes you completely. Think of stress as weather, internal weather. Sometimes it's calm. Clear skies, gentle breezes, comfortable temperature, your nervous system at baseline, monitoring but not alarmed, ready but not activated. Sometimes clouds gather, subtle tension, mild unease, the feeling that something's not quite right. Your body noticing potential storms, preparing just in case. Sometimes storms arrive, racing heart, tight chest, spinning thoughts, the overwhelming sense of danger or urgency. Your stress system fully activated, mobilizing all resources for survival. And sometimes, for some people, the storm never fully passes. It might quiet briefly, but it's always there on the horizon, always threatening to return. Chronic stress, a climate that never quite settles into calm. Understanding this weather system, your internal climate, means understanding yourself at the most fundamental level. Because stress isn't just an emotion. It's a full-body response involving your brain, your hormones, your immune system, your heart, your muscles, your gut, every part of you. Your breathing is already beginning to slow. Perhaps your eyelids are growing heavy, not just tired, but weighted, as if gentle pressure is applied from above. That's your body recognizing safety, preparing for rest. Trust it. Welcome it. We live in a world that generates unprecedented stress. Our stress response evolved for physical threats, predators, rival tribes, natural dangers. Brief, intense storms followed by clear skies and recovery. But modern stress is different. It's psychological, social, chronic, financial worry, work pressure, relationship conflict, social comparison, information overload, the constant hum of demands, deadlines, and uncertainty. Your stress system is trying to protect you from these modern threats using ancient biology. It's like using a hurricane warning system to monitor email. Technically it works, but it's exhausting and often inappropriate. Understanding this mismatch, ancient body, modern world, is liberating. It explains why you feel overwhelmed, why small things trigger big reactions, why you can't just calm down through willpower alone. It's not weakness. It's biology responding to circumstances it wasn't designed for. But knowledge is power. Understanding how your internal weather works means you can work with it skillfully. You can recognize when it's serving you and when it's overreacting. You can cultivate practices that genuinely calm the weather rather than just suppressing symptoms. You can build resilience, not the absence of storms, but the capacity to weather them and return to calm. So let's begin our exploration. Let's understand this weather system that shapes so much of your experience. Let's discover how it works, why it sometimes malfunctions, and how you can find calm even when storms are gathering. But remember, you don't need to hear every word. You don't need to stay awake. The information is here if you want it. The silence is here if you need it. And sleep, when it comes, is the deepest form of stress relief your body knows. Let any remaining thoughts drift away. Let the day's tensions dissolve. Let your body grow heavier, sinking deeper into rest. Let's discover stress. Not to create more of it, but to understand it so completely that some of its power over you diminishes. You're safe. You're held. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Storm Within. You're walking through a forest. Peaceful. Quiet. warm sunlight filtering through leaves, bird songs, gentle breeze. Your internal weather is calm, clear skies, no storms, just pleasant conditions. Then, movement in the bushes, large movement. In milliseconds, your internal weather changes completely. Storm clouds gather instantly. Lightning strikes. Your heart. Thunder rolling. Your breath. Wind picking up. Your muscles. Tensing like trees before a gale. This happens before you've even thought, what was that? Your body has detected a weather change, potential storm approaching, and it's already mobilizing. This is your stress response, your internal weather system shifting from calm to storm in seconds. And it might have just saved your life. The movement was a bear. Your body's instant storm response gives you the energy to run, the strength to fight, the alertness to make rapid decisions. Let's understand how this remarkable weather system works. Your weather radar. Deep in your brain, you have a weather radar constantly scanning for storms. Scientists call it the amygdala, but think of it as your storm detector, your internal radar. This radar scans constantly, always watching, always evaluating. Is this safe? Is that dangerous? Are storm conditions developing? It's fast, incredibly fast, faster than your conscious thinking. This is why you can jump away from a snake before you've consciously recognized it's a snake. Your radar detected the threat, issued warnings, and mobilized your body, all before your thinking brain caught up. When your radar detects a storm approaching, it sends emergency alerts to your command center, a region called the hypothalamus. But think of it as your weather coordination center. The command center then activates two weather response systems, one fast, one slower, but longer lasting. Let's explore both. The lightning system. First response, lightning. Your command center activates your emergency alert system. This releases adrenaline. Think of it as lightning striking your body. Adrenaline is fast, intense, immediate. Within seconds, your heart pounds. Thunder inside your chest. Your breath quickens. Wind rushing in and out. Your muscles tense, every fiber ready to move. Your senses sharpen. Vision focuses. Hearing intensifies. Pupils dilate, taking in more light. Blood rushes away from your digestive system toward your muscles. Rivers redirecting flow. Sugar floods your bloodstream. Instant fuel for action. This is the lightning strike. The immediate storm response. Your body mobilized completely in seconds. All of this is automatic. You don't decide, activate adrenaline. Your weather system handles it. Your body knows what to do. The rain system. Second response, rain. Your command center also activates a slower but longer-lasting system. This releases cortisol. Think of it as rain beginning to fall. Cortisol takes minutes, not seconds, but it lasts much longer than adrenaline. Cortisol is sustained storm conditions, keeping energy mobilized. The rain keeps falling, keeping you alert and ready. The clouds stay overhead, suppressing non-essential functions. Resources redirected to weathering the storm, while adrenaline is lightning, dramatic, immediate, brief. Cortisol is rain, less intense but enduring. The storm settling in for the duration. Together, these systems create your full stress response, the complete internal storm. Your body is settling deeper now, your own internal weather calming as you rest here, learning about storms while experiencing peace. The full weather change. When the storm arrives, your entire internal climate changes. Your heart, the engine of your weather system, shifts into high gear, beating faster, pumping harder, creating internal wind and pressure. Your blood vessels, the channels of your climate, redirect flow, tightening in your digestive system like rivers narrowing, opening in your muscles like floodgates releasing. Everything redirected toward action. Your breath, the atmosphere of your body becomes turbulent. Quick, shallow, stormy breathing. Your body pulling in oxygen, preparing for what's coming. Your muscles tense, coiling, ready to spring, to fight or flee, to move explosively. Your digestion slows or stops. When there's a bear, your body doesn't waste energy digesting lunch. Blood flow redirects. Digestion can wait. Your immune system shifts. Brief storms can actually boost immunity, your body preparing for potential injury. But sustained storms suppress it. Your body deciding fighting bears is more urgent than fighting bacteria. Your brain changes too. Your radar, detecting threats, becomes more active, better at spotting danger. Meanwhile, the thinking parts of your brain, the regions handling complex reasoning, planning, rational thought, become less active. You're operating on instinct now, not contemplation. This is the storm inside you. Every system mobilized, every resource redirected. Your internal weather has shifted from calm to tempest. And for brief, genuine threats, this is perfect, this is adaptive, this is survival. The bear either catches you or doesn't. The storm passes. Your weather system stands down. Calm returns. You recover. But what if the storm never passes? What if the rain just keeps falling? What if your weather system stays activated day after day, week after week? Then the weather system that evolved to save you starts to harm you. Perhaps these technical details are starting to blur. Perhaps the names, radar, command center, lightning, rain, are becoming less distinct, like words heard through gentle static. That's perfectly fine. Let the details soften. What remains is the essence. Your body has a stress system, a weather system. It's designed for brief storms. It mobilizes you completely. Heart, breath, muscles, brain, everything. This is adaptive for short-term danger, but problematic for long-term activation. Bring your attention to your body for just a moment. Notice your shoulders. Are they tense? Holding. Let them drop. Just release. Feel them fall away from your ears. Notice your jaw. Is it clenched? Let it soften. Teeth slightly apart. Tongue resting gently. Notice your hands. Are they curled? Let them open. Palms up if comfortable. Fingers loose. This is what calm weather feels like. No storms, no mobilization, just rest. We'll continue by exploring what happens when the storm never clears, when chronic stress keeps your weather system activated indefinitely, and what that does to your body over time. But if you're already drifting too deep to follow, that's perfect. Just rest. The information will be here if you wake and want to return. And if you don't return, that's fine too. Sleep is healing. Sleep is stress relief. Sleep is exactly what you need. You're safe. You're held. The storm has passed for tonight. You're in calm weather now. You're exactly where you should be. Chapter 2. When the storm never clears. Imagine weather in 3 stages. Stage 1. Storm warning. Dark clouds gather on the horizon. You see them coming. Your body prepares, battens down hatches, mobilizes resources. Adrenaline strikes like lightning. Cortisol begins falling like rain. This is acute stress. The storm arriving suddenly. Your body says, take shelter, brace yourself. This is temporary. We can handle this. Your heart races. Your breath quickens. Your muscles tense. You're ready, alert, mobilized. This is adaptive. This is what your weather system evolved for. Brief, intense storms. Stage 2. The long storm. But what if the storm doesn't pass? What if the rain just keeps falling, day after day, week after week? Your body adapts. Cortisol stays elevated. Your heart rate remains higher than baseline. Your muscles stay tense. Your digestion stays disrupted. You're functioning, yes. Going to work. Maintaining responsibilities. Getting things done. But you're functioning in the storm. The rain never stops. Your shelter holds, but it's constantly tested. You've adapted to storm conditions. You've normalized constant stress. It becomes your new weather. Not comfortable, but familiar. Not healthy, but manageable. For a while. This is chronic stress, weathering ongoing storms without recovery. Stage 3. Shelter collapse. Eventually, if the storm never clears, your shelter begins to fail. The constant rain erodes foundations. Wind wears down walls. Resources deplete. Your body, built to weather brief storms, breaks down under permanent storm conditions. Your heart, pumping at elevated pressure for months or years, begins to falter. Your immune system, suppressed for so long, stops protecting you properly. Your digestion, disrupted for too long, develops chronic problems. Your brain, operating in emergency mode constantly, changes structurally. Organs fail. Immunity collapses. Disease develops. This is exhaustion, when chronic stress finally overwhelms your system's capacity. This 3-stage pattern was first discovered by a scientist named Hans Selye in the 1950s. He called it the General Adaptation Syndrome. Alarm, resistance, exhaustion. What he discovered was both systematic and disturbing. Your stress response, if activated too long, destroys you. Not the stressor itself, the prolonged response to it. Your body is growing heavier now, each breath slightly deeper than the last. Perhaps you're noticing less and less of your body's sensations, as if physical awareness is gradually fading into background. The cardiovascular erosion. Think of your cardiovascular system as your body's weather circulation, constantly moving, constantly flowing, maintaining your internal climate. Now imagine that system running in storm mode constantly, day after day, month after month, year after year. The pressure never drops. The wind never calms. The channels never relax. What happens to rivers that flood constantly? They erode. Banks collapse. Channels break down. What happens to a heart that races constantly? To blood vessels that stay constricted? To blood pressure that never normalizes? They break down. The permanent storm conditions erode your cardiovascular system. Not immediately, not dramatically, but slowly, steadily, inevitably. Like coastline erosion, you don't see it happening day to day, but over years, the landscape changes completely. Chronic stress is a major risk factor for high blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. Not because stress directly causes these conditions, but because prolonged cardiovascular activation creates the conditions where disease develops. The immune collapse, brief storms, can actually boost your immune system. Your body preparing for potential injury during the emergency. But chronic storms do the opposite. They suppress immunity. Cortisol, at constantly elevated levels, tells your immune system, we're in crisis mode. Fighting infections can wait. We need all resources for the immediate threat. Except the immediate threat never ends. The storm keeps raging, and your immune defenses stay suppressed. if you've been under chronic stress, maybe caring for a sick loved one, maybe in a difficult job, maybe just weathering year after year of pressure, you might notice you catch every cold going around. Wounds take forever to heal. You feel run down constantly. Your body is too exhausted to protect you properly. Your immune shelter has collapsed. The digestive storm. Your gut and your stress are deeply connected. When the storm arrives, blood flow to your digestive system decreases. Digestion slows or stops. Your body doesn't waste energy digesting food when there's danger to face. But chronic stress means chronic digestive disruption. Constant stomach aches, nausea, constipation, or diarrhea. Your gut never getting the calm weather it needs to function properly. The gut-brain connection goes both ways. Stress affects digestion. But disrupted digestion also affects mood and stress levels. It's a feedback loop. Troubled gut, troubled mind. Troubled mind, troubled gut. The storm in your mind creates storms in your gut. The storms in your gut intensify the storms in your mind. The brain changes. Perhaps most concerning. Chronic stress changes your brain structure. High cortisol levels over time can actually shrink your hippocampus, the region involved in memory and emotional regulation. The hippocampus physically becomes smaller with chronic stress. This is one reason chronic stress impairs memory and makes emotional regulation harder. The brain regions that would help you cope are damaged by the stress itself. Meanwhile, your radar, your threat detector, becomes more active and can grow larger. You become more sensitive to potential storms, more reactive, more easily triggered. It's a cruel cycle. The stress that should be temporary changes your brain in ways that make you more sensitive to stress, which creates more stress, which further changes your brain. This isn't permanent. Brains can heal, but it takes time, reduced stress, and often deliberate practices. Your breathing is so slow now, so steady, like the gentlest tide on a calm sea, barely moving, almost still. A story of chronic stress. There's a woman named Maria. Real person, though that's not her real name. Maria worked in finance. High-rise office, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Beautiful office, prestigious job, good salary. But inside, Maria was drowning. Every morning she'd wake with her jaw already clenched, shoulders up around her ears before her eyes even opened. The day's stress pressing down on her before the day had even begun. The internal storm was already raging before she got out of bed. She'd sit at her desk, back rigid, type in emails with fingers that pressed too hard on the keys, as if force could solve problems, as if tension could create control. By noon, the headache would start. A band around her skull, tightening gradually. By 3 p.m., she couldn't look at screens without pain shooting through her temples. By 5 p.m., nausea would begin, but she'd keep working, keep pushing, keep functioning. Because that's what strong people do, she told herself. They handle it. They weather storms. They keep going. She'd finally leave the office around 8 p.m., sometimes later. Drive home in traffic, jaw still clenched, shoulders still rigid, headache pounding like thunder that wouldn't stop. Walk through her door, beautiful apartment, empty, quiet. And the first thing she'd do, before taking off her coat, before putting down her bag, was pour wine. Large glass, very large. Then she'd sit on the couch, turn on the TV, any show. Didn't matter. Just noise, just distraction, just Not thinking about work. Not thinking about deadlines. Not thinking about the mounting pressure that never seemed to ease. She'd drink, watch, eventually drift to sleep on the couch, TV still on, empty wine glass on the floor. Wake at 2 a.m. with a crick in her neck and a racing heart. Drag herself to bed. Lie there, thoughts spinning like winds that wouldn't calm. Sleep impossible. Finally, sleep around 4 a.m. Alarm at 6 a.m. Wake with jaw already clenched. The storm never cleared. Not even at night. Not even in sleep. Again. 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 This went on for 3 years. 3 years of constant storm. 3 years of whine and avoidance. 3 years of functioning but not living. Her body kept trying to tell her. Headaches became migraines. Storms so intense she'd have to lie in dark rooms, unable to speak, barely able to think, waiting hours for them to pass. Occasional stomach discomfort became chronic digestive pain. Her gut perpetually stormy, never settling. She caught every virus that circulated the office, every cold, every flu. Her immune system had collapsed. Gained 20 pounds despite eating less. Her stress hormones altering how her body stored energy. Couldn't remember the last time she'd actually laughed. Couldn't remember what calm weather felt like. Then came the doctor's appointment. Just a physical, routine. Except the results weren't routine. High blood pressure, pre-diabetic blood sugar levels, elevated inflammatory markers, signs her body was breaking down under permanent storm conditions. "You're stressed," the doctor said. Maria almost laughed, almost said, "Of course I'm stressed. Everyone's stressed. That's just life." But something in the doctor's face stopped her. Concern. Real concern. "Your body is exhausted," the doctor continued quietly. "It's breaking down. The stress you think you're handling fine. Your body is telling a very different story. You're living in permanent storm conditions. Your shelter is collapsing." And in that moment, something in Maria cracked. Not broke, cracked open. And through that crack, she finally admitted something she'd been denying for 3 years. "I'm not fine. I'm not handling it. The storm never stops, and I don't know how to make it stop." That was the beginning. Not of being fixed. Not of suddenly having clear skies, but of acknowledging the storm. Of admitting her shelter was failing. Of asking for help. The changes Maria made weren't dramatic. She didn't quit her job or move to the mountains or radically transform her life overnight. She just started small. Walking after work instead of immediately opening wine. Just 20 minutes. Just around her neighborhood. Moving her body, completing the stress cycle. Journaling before bed instead of TV. Just 10 minutes. Just writing what she felt without editing or judging. Letting the storm express itself on paper instead of staying bottled inside. Reaching out to friends she'd been avoiding. Just a text. Just, "Hey, can we talk?" Reconnecting with her shelter network. Seeing a therapist just once a week. Just sitting with someone who could help her process the storms instead of just enduring them. Small changes. Nothing miraculous. Nothing Instagram-worthy. But gradually, so gradually she didn't notice it happening. The weather began to shift. The migraines became less frequent, then rare, then almost gone. Her digestion settled. The constant stormy churning eased into calmer seas. She slept better. Not perfectly, but better. Woke feeling more rested than she had in years. The jaw clenching loosened. The shoulder tension released. Her body, slowly, began to trust that the constant storm conditions might actually be clearing. 2 years later, Maria's blood pressure was normal, her blood sugar fine, her inflammatory markers back in healthy range. Not because the stress disappeared. Her job was still demanding. Life still brought storms. But she'd learned to weather storms instead of being destroyed by them. She'd built better shelter. She'd found ways to let storms pass instead of making them permanent weather. She still has hard days, still feels overwhelmed sometimes, still faces challenging weather. But now she knows. Stress doesn't have to break her. Storms can be weathered. Clear skies do return, and recovery is possible. Perhaps Maria's story resonates. Perhaps you see yourself in her 3 years of constant storms. Perhaps you recognize the jaw clenching, the shoulder tension, the sense of drowning while looking fine on the surface. If you do, know this. Maria's breakthrough doesn't have to take 3 years. It can happen right now, this moment, admitting, I'm not fine. The storm isn't passing. I need help. That admission isn't weakness. It's the beginning of wisdom. Your body is so deeply at rest now. Perhaps consciousness is only occasionally present, there for a moment, gone for longer stretches, like a lighthouse beam sweeping across dark water. Sometimes visible, often not. Let Maria's story fade. Let the medical details dissolve. What remains is simple. Chronic stress harms you, not because you're weak, because you're human, because your body isn't designed for endless storms. Understanding this isn't depressing, it's liberating, because it means the solution isn't be stronger or stop being stressed. The solution is understanding your weather system well enough to recognize when storms are too intense, when you need shelter, when you need rest, when you need help. We'll continue by exploring why the same storm affects different people differently. The psychology of how your mind creates weather, how interpretation shapes intensity, why control matters so much. But if you're already gone into sleep, stay there. Sleep is the shelter your body needs most. You're safe. The storm has passed for tonight. You're resting in calm weather. You're exactly where you should be. Chapter 3. Why the same storm affects us differently. Two people face the same situation. Identical circumstances, identical challenge. One person feels overwhelmed, panicked. The internal storm is raging. The other feels challenged but capable, energized even. The weather is breezy but manageable. Same situation, different stress responses. Why? This is the psychology of stress, and it reveals something profound. Stress isn't just about what happens to you. It's about how you interpret what happens, how your mind reads the weather, what meaning you assign, what resources you believe you have. The weather isn't just external. It's also internal, created by your mind's interpretation of events. Let's explore why the same storm affects different people differently. The two questions. When you see clouds gathering, your mind makes two weather assessments rapidly, often unconsciously. First question. How big is this storm? Is this light rain or a hurricane? A brief shower or a weeks-long deluge? Your mind evaluates. Is this threatening? Does this matter? Could this harm me? If you assess light rain, no big deal. No stress response. You might not even grab an umbrella. Clear skies in your mind despite clouds overhead. If you assess this is a serious storm, you move to the second question. Second question. Is my shelter strong enough? Can I weather this? Do I have what it takes? Is my shelter adequate for this storm's intensity? If you assess, yes, my shelter is strong enough, you feel challenged but capable. You prepare, but you're not panicked. You know you can weather this. This is manageable storm conditions, stressful but handleable. You might even feel energized by the challenge. The wind is blowing, but your shelter is solid. If you assess, no, my shelter won't hold, you feel overwhelmed, panicked, helpless. The storm is too big, your shelter too weak. You're going to be destroyed. This is catastrophic stress, overwhelming weather conditions, same storm, different shelters, different assessments, different stress levels. Your breathing has become so gentle now, so quiet, like the stillness at the center of a calm day. No wind, no disturbance, just profound, complete stillness. What shapes your assessment? If stress is partly about interpretation, what shapes how you read the weather? Your history with storms. If you've successfully weathered similar storms before, you're more likely to assess your shelter as adequate. Your history teaches you. I've survived this before. My shelter held, I can do it again. But if past storms destroyed your shelter, or if you've been overwhelmed by similar weather, you're more likely to assess catastrophic conditions. Your history warns, this storm destroyed me before. I can't survive it again. Your beliefs about control. This is crucial. If you believe you can influence the weather, or at least control your response to it, stress decreases dramatically. When you believe, I can't control the storm, but I can control my shelter, my preparations, my response, stress stays manageable. The weather is challenging, but you have agency. You can board windows, reinforce walls, gather supplies. But when you believe, I can't control the storm and I can't control my response, stress becomes overwhelming. You're helpless. At the mercy of weather you can neither predict nor prepare for. You're not controlling the weather itself. You can't make hurricanes stop. But control over your shelter, your preparations, your response, that's enough to shift from overwhelmed to capable. Your shelter network. If you have people who care about you, who you can turn to, who offer help when storms arrive, stress is lower. You're not alone in the storm. There's backup shelter available. Others can help reinforce your walls. But if you're isolated, if you believe you must weather everything alone, stress is higher. You're facing the storm with no shelter, no backup, no support. Your personality. Some people have naturally more sensitive weather radars. They detect storms more easily. Their alarm system is more reactive. This isn't weakness. It's temperament, partly genetic. These people live in slightly stormier internal climates naturally. Others have less sensitive radars. They're more easygoing, less bothered by potential storms. Neither is better or worse, just different baseline weather patterns. Your values and meaning. If a situation threatens something you deeply value, the storm feels more intense. A threat to your child, to your identity, to your core beliefs, these generate severe internal weather. But if a situation doesn't connect to your values, the storm feels less intense. Losing a job you hate is less stressful than losing a job you love. The external situation is the same, but the internal weather is completely different. An example, public speaking. Imagine two people giving the same presentation. Identical situation, same audience, same stakes. Person 1's assessment. How big is this storm? Very big. I'll be judged. I might fail. Everyone will see my mistakes. This is threatening. Is my shelter strong enough? No. I'm terrible at speaking. I always mess up. I can't handle this. Result: severe stress, racing heart, shaking hands, mind going blank. The internal storm is overwhelming. Person 2's assessment. How big is this storm? Moderate. This matters and I want to do well. There's some risk. This is challenging. Is my shelter strong enough? Yes. I've prepared well. I have skills. I've done this before. I can handle this. Result: moderate stress. Heart rate elevated but manageable. Energy focused. Mind clear. The internal weather is challenging but energizing. Same situation, same presentation. Different assessments. Completely different stress levels. The situation matters. But the mind's interpretation matters just as much, sometimes more. Perhaps these psychological concepts are starting to feel distant. Perhaps assessments and interpretations and control are becoming abstract, disconnected from you lying here in darkness. Let them become abstract. Let the technical terms fade. What remains is simple. Your mind shapes your weather. How you interpret situations matters enormously. Believing you can cope makes storms more manageable. If these words are becoming less distinct, if meanings are dissolving into just sounds, just rhythm, that's exactly right. You don't need to follow every word. You don't need to remember every concept. Let the details blur. Let awareness soften like fog rolling in. What remains is simple. You have more control over your internal weather than you realize. Not control over what happens to you, but control over how you interpret it, how you prepare for it, how you respond to it. The control paradox. Here's something remarkable that research consistently shows. Perceived control reduces stress dramatically. Not actual control, perceived control. The belief that you can influence outcomes. In one famous study, researchers exposed people to random loud noises. Unpredictable, unavoidable, very stressful. Elevated stress hormones, increased heart rate, reported distress. Then they did it again, but this time told half the participants they could press a button to stop the noise if it became unbearable. In reality, the button did nothing. It wasn't connected to anything. But just believing they had control, even though they never actually used the button, reduced stress significantly. Their stress hormones stayed lower. Their heart rates were calmer. They reported less distress. The situation was identical. The noise was just as loud and unpredictable. But perceived control changed everything. This explains so much about modern stress. You feel stressed not just because life is hard, but because you feel you can't control it. Financial stress isn't just about lacking money. It's about feeling you can't influence your financial situation. Health anxiety isn't just about being sick. It's about feeling you can't control your health outcomes. Lack of control makes storms feel impossible to weather. But here's something hopeful. Even small amounts of control help. You don't need complete control. You just need some sense of agency. Some belief that your actions matter. Some area where you can influence outcomes. This is why stress management focuses on what you can control. Your breathing, your thoughts, your responses, even when you can't control the situation itself. You can't control the weather, but you can choose your shelter. You can prepare, you can adapt. That's enough to reduce stress significantly. Your body knows such deep rest now. Consciousness barely present, like the distant memory of a dream half remembered. There, and not there, present and absent. Let these concepts settle. Let the psychology of appraisal fade into background understanding. Let the control paradox dissolve into simple wisdom. Some things you can change, some things you can't. Wisdom lies in knowing the difference. We'll continue by exploring what happens when storms become trauma, when the weather is so overwhelming that it permanently alters your climate system, rewiring how you experience all future weather. But this chapter is gentle, understanding, validating, and if you're already too deep into rest to follow, that's perfect. Stay there. You're safe. The weather around you right now is calm. Clear skies, gentle conditions, nothing threatening, only rest. You're exactly where you should be. Chapter 4. When storms become trauma. There's a kind of stress that's different from all others, more severe, more overwhelming, more lasting. Not just a storm that passes through, but a storm so intense it changes the landscape itself, alters the terrain, transforms how all future weather is experienced. This is trauma. And understanding it helps explain why some people remain stressed long after danger has passed. Why certain situations trigger reactions that seem disproportionate. Why healing sometimes takes so long. Let's explore trauma with compassion and understanding. Most storms pass. Most storms arrive, rage, and move on. You see the clouds gathering. Feel the wind picking up. Experience the rain falling. Then, gradually, the weather clears. Blue sky returns. Sun breaks through. Calm settles in. Your shelter might take some damage. Maybe a few shingles blown off. Maybe some flooding to clean up. But the structure holds. You repair. You recover. Life continues. This is normal stress. Even intense stress. It comes. It goes. You weather it. But some storms are different. The storm that changes everything. Some storms are so massive, so overwhelming, that they don't just damage your shelter, they change your entire climate system. They alter the landscape itself. They rewire your weather radar. They transform how your body experiences all future weather. After these storms pass, the weather never quite returns to what it was before. This is trauma. The storm that changes your climate permanently. Trauma has specific characteristics that make it different from regular stress. It's overwhelming. Not just heavy rain, but a tsunami. Not just wind, but a tornado that tears everything apart. Your shelter, your normal coping, is completely inadequate. You're not weathering the storm. You're being destroyed by it. It's inescapable. You can't run. You can't hide. You can't board up windows and wait it out. The storm is everywhere, inescapable, and you're trapped in it. No shelter available, no way out. It shatters your basic assumptions. Before the storm, you believed certain things. My shelter is safe. This region doesn't get hurricanes. I can handle bad weather. After the storm, those beliefs are destroyed. Nothing feels safe anymore. Any clouds look threatening. Your entire sense of security has been shattered. It creates helplessness. During the trauma, you can't fight. You can't flee. You're forced to endure while completely powerless. This helplessness becomes encoded in your nervous system. Your body learns, when storms come, I'm helpless. My actions don't matter. I can't protect myself. When stress has these qualities, overwhelming, inescapable, shattering, helplessness-inducing, it becomes traumatic. And trauma changes your nervous system. Your breathing is so slow now, so deep, like the ocean's rhythm far below the surface where storms never reach. Profound stillness, profound peace, the freeze response. We often talk about fight or flight, but there's a third response crucial for understanding trauma: freeze. When fighting won't work and fleeing isn't possible, mammals have another option. They freeze. They become immobile, shut down, dissociate. Think of a deer in headlights. It doesn't run. It freezes, completely still. This is adaptive in some situations. Playing dead can prevent a predator from continuing its attack. Dissociating, mentally disconnecting from what's happening, can protect your psyche from overwhelming horror that would shatter you completely. But freeze has lasting effects. When you can't fight or flee, when you're forced to endure while immobilized, the stress energy stays trapped in your body. The mobilization that would normally be discharged through action remains locked in your nervous system. This is why trauma survivors often feel stuck. The freeze response served them during the trauma, protected them, helped them survive. But now they remain frozen, not physically, but internally, unable to move forward, trapped in the storm that's already passed. How trauma rewires your weather system. After trauma, your internal weather radar changes. Remember your radar, your storm detector deep in your brain. Trauma makes it hyperactive and hypersensitive. After trauma, your radar stays on high alert. It detects storms everywhere, even where none exist. Your alarm system becomes overactive, triggering emergency responses to situations that aren't actually dangerous. This is hypervigilance. You're constantly scanning for danger, always alert, never fully relaxed. Your internal weather is always stormy or at least overcast. Clear skies feel impossible. A car backfires. Your radar screams explosion. Your body floods with adrenaline even though there's no danger. Someone raises their voice. Your radar screams attack. Your heart races even though you're safe. A particular smell, a certain tone, unexpected touch. Your radar screams threat. The storm arrives instantly, even though the actual weather is calm. Your radar can't distinguish between past storms and present conditions. It's stuck in trauma time, always expecting the catastrophic weather to return. Meanwhile, other parts of your brain that help with memory and context become impaired. Your thinking, reasoning brain struggles to override the radar's false alarms. So you feel threatened, but can't always articulate why. Your body remembers the trauma vividly at an emotional level, but your thinking brain can't always contextualize it, can't always explain why you're having a storm response when the actual weather is calm. This creates a strange and painful experience. Your body is screaming, "Danger," while your mind looks around and sees no threat. You feel crazy, but you're not crazy. Your weather system is damaged. Your radar is miscalibrated by overwhelming past storms. Perhaps this is becoming heavy. Perhaps these descriptions of suffering are creating tension rather than releasing it. If so, let them go. Let the trauma discussion fade into background. You're not in trauma right now. You're safe, resting, held. Living in permanent storm conditions. After trauma, many people experience post-traumatic stress. The storm keeps returning. Even though it's over, you experience it again. Flashbacks are like the storm suddenly recurring. You're back in it, heart racing, terror flooding, even though the actual weather is calm. Nightmares bring the storm into your sleep. The trauma is past, but your weather system keeps replaying it. You avoid all weather warnings. Anything that reminds you of the storm, you avoid. Certain places, certain people, certain sensations. You're trying to prevent the storm from returning by avoiding anything that might trigger the memory. But this means constantly restricting your life, always running from potential weather. Your radar is stuck on high alert. Your storm detection system becomes hypersensitive. Every cloud looks like the hurricane. Every breeze feels like the tornado. Your alarm system is stuck on, constantly scanning, constantly predicting catastrophe. You're living in permanent storm conditions even when the actual weather is calm and safe. You feel disconnected. Sometimes, to protect yourself from overwhelming feelings, you shut down emotionally. You feel numb, disconnected from yourself and others, like you're watching life through a foggy window rather than living it. This is dissociation, your mind's way of creating distance from unbearable internal weather. This is post-traumatic stress, your internal climate system, permanently altered by overwhelming weather. When these symptoms persist for more than a month and significantly impair your life, it may be post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. But many people experience some of these symptoms after trauma without meeting full PTSD criteria. It's a spectrum of post-traumatic weather changes. A story of trauma and healing. There's a veteran named James. Iraq War. Multiple tours. Witnessed things that shattered him. Explosions that killed friends. Ambushes where he thought he'd die. Moments of terror so intense his mind could barely process them. He returned home. But he didn't really return. Part of him stayed in the war, trapped in those moments, unable to escape the storms that had passed years ago. A car backfiring would send him diving for cover, his heart pounding, body flooding with adrenaline. For several seconds, he wasn't on a peaceful street in America. He was back in combat. The storm was happening again. Crowded places felt dangerous. Too many people. Too many potential threats. His radar screaming constantly. He'd have to leave, gasping, overwhelmed. Loud noises, sudden movements, anything unexpected. All triggered the storm response. His weather system couldn't distinguish between past trauma and present safety. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, the nightmares came. The explosions, the dying, the terror. He'd wake, gasping, soaked in sweat, heart racing like he'd sprinted a mile. During the day, he felt numb, disconnected, going through motions but not really present. He'd look at his family and feel nothing. He'd try to engage but felt like he was watching from far away, through thick glass. He isolated himself, stayed in his apartment, avoided people, avoided situations that might trigger the storms. His life became smaller and smaller, a tiny shelter he rarely left. For years, he believed he was broken, irreparably damaged. The storms had destroyed him. He tried medication. It helped somewhat, took the edge off the constant anxiety. But it didn't address the core problem. His weather system was still damaged, his radar still miscalibrated. Then he found trauma-focused therapy. Not traditional talk therapy, but approaches that work with the body, with the nervous system, with the frozen stress energy trapped inside. EMDR, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. A technique that helps the brain reprocess traumatic memories, helping them become past events rather than present threats. somatic therapy, working with the body's sensations, helping release the trapped stress energy, helping the freeze response finally complete. Slowly, painfully slowly, things began shifting. He learned his hypervigilance wasn't permanent damage, but a nervous system stuck in survival mode. He learned the freeze response had protected him, but now needed releasing. He learned his body was holding trauma that his mind couldn't fully process alone. Through treatment, he gradually discharged the trapped stress energy. Slowly, his nervous system began to recalibrate. The hypervigilance decreased. Not gone, but manageable. He could go to the grocery store without his radar screaming constantly. Sleep improved. The nightmares became less frequent, less intense. Some nights he slept through peacefully. The emotional numbness began to thaw. He started feeling again, not just fear and anxiety, but also joy, connection, love. He could hug his daughter and actually feel it. The flashbacks didn't disappear completely. Certain triggers still brought the storms back, but they became less frequent, shorter, less overwhelming. And he learned techniques to ground himself, to remind his nervous system. That was then. This is now. 2 years into treatment, James could say something he hadn't been able to say before. I'm healing. The storms changed me. But they don't control me anymore. He still has difficult memories, still has occasional nightmares, still startles more easily than others. But he's no longer trapped in the trauma. The weather that was overwhelming is now part of his history. A storm he survived. His nervous system is slowly learning. That was then, this is now. The catastrophic weather has passed. Healing from trauma doesn't mean forgetting. Doesn't mean the experience didn't matter. Doesn't mean getting over it. Healing means the trauma becomes part of your past rather than your present. The storm that was overwhelming becomes a storm you survived. Your nervous system learns to distinguish between then and now. The weather has changed. Perhaps James's story reaches you. Perhaps you know what it's like to have a radar that won't quiet, to feel trapped in storms that have passed, to wonder if you'll ever feel calm again. If you do, know this. James's healing is possible for you too. Trauma changes your weather system, but weather systems can be recalibrated. Healing is possible. It takes time, it takes help, it takes patience, but it's possible. Your body is so still now, so deeply resting. Perhaps awareness is barely there, a flicker like the last light of day fading into night. Just barely present, mostly gone. Let James's story dissolve. Let the trauma discussion settle gently. You're not analyzing trauma right now. You're resting. And that rest itself is healing. That safety itself is what traumatized nervous systems need most. We'll continue by exploring how people cope with stress, the strategies we use, healthy and unhealthy, effective and ineffective, what actually helps weather storms. But if you're already gone into sleep, stay there. Sleep is the safest shelter. Sleep is where your nervous system truly recovers. Sleep is exactly what you need. You're safe. The storms are far away. Only calm weather here. You're exactly where you should be. Chapter 5. How we weather storms. Everyone has strategies for managing stress, ways of coping when the weather turns difficult. Some strategies are healthy, building long-term resilience, strengthening your shelter. Others provide temporary relief, but create new problems, weakening your shelter over time. Understanding how you cope and how you could cope more effectively is essential for navigating life's inevitable storms. Let's explore the landscape of coping. 2 approaches to storms. When storms arrive, you have 2 basic approaches. Change the weather, address the storm itself. If you're stressed about a deadline, work on the project. If you're stressed about a conflict, have the conversation. If you're stressed about uncertainty, gather information. You're trying to actually change the conditions creating the storm. Find better shelter. If you can't change the weather, you manage how you experience it. Deep breathing. Reframing. Seeking support. Building resilience. You can't stop the rain, but you can reinforce your shelter, stay warm and dry inside. Both approaches are valuable. The key is matching the strategy to the situation. If the storm is something you can influence, if you have some control, changing the weather often works better. Address the source. Solve the problem. Clear the clouds. If the storm is beyond your control, if it's going to rain regardless of what you do, finding better shelter often works better. You can't stop hurricanes, but you can build stronger shelters. You can weather the storm more skillfully. Wisdom lies in knowing which approach fits which situation. Change what you can. Accept what you can't. Know the difference. Healthy shelter building. Let's explore coping strategies that research consistently shows strengthen your shelter. Connection with others. Reaching out. Talking through problems. Receiving comfort, advice, practical help. Social connection is one of the most powerful storm buffers we have. You weather storms better with others than alone. Your shelter is stronger when it includes other people's support. Movement, exercise, walking, dancing, any physical activity. Movement reduces stress hormones, releases natural feel-good chemicals, helps discharge physical tension. Your body was designed to move, and movement helps complete the stress cycle. It's like opening windows after a storm, letting fresh air in, letting trapped energy out. Mindfulness practices, meditation, deep breathing, present moment awareness. These practices calm your nervous system, quiet your storm radar, create space between what happens and how you respond. They literally change your brain over time, making you less reactive to potential storms. Reframing. Looking at situations from different perspectives. Not denying reality, but finding alternative interpretations that reduce stress. Asking, is there another way to see this? What's the evidence for my catastrophic interpretation? What would I tell a friend in this situation? Sometimes storms seem smaller when viewed from different angles. Problem solving. When you can change the weather, actively doing so. Breaking problems into steps. Generating solutions. Taking action. When storms are within your influence, addressing them directly is empowering and effective. Self-compassion. Treating yourself with kindness during difficulty. Recognizing that suffering is part of human experience. Speaking to yourself as you would a dear friend. Self-compassion reduces stress more effectively than self-criticism. Harsh internal weather just adds to external storms. Expression. Journaling. Art. Music. Talking with trusted others. Expressing feelings rather than suppressing them. Suppression is like boarding up your shelter so tight that air can't circulate. It feels protective but creates different problems. Expression is like having proper ventilation. Feelings can flow through and out rather than building up inside. Your body knows deep rest now. Perhaps you're only catching occasional words, like catching glimpses of stars through moving clouds. There, gone, there again. Just let awareness drift. Unhealthy shelter mistakes. Some coping strategies seem helpful short-term, but weaken your shelter long-term. Complete avoidance, never thinking about stress, never addressing problems, constantly distracting yourself. This seems to help. You don't feel the distress, but unresolved issues accumulate. Problems grow. The storm you were avoiding gets bigger while your shelter gets weaker. Substance reliance, alcohol, drugs, even excessive caffeine or food. These can temporarily numb the storm, but they create new problems: health issues, dependency, worsened stress when not using. You're escaping the storm temporarily, but making your shelter weaker, less able to withstand future weather. Rumination. Repetitively thinking about stressors without solving them. Going over and over what's wrong, why it's awful, how unfair it is. This feels like you're processing, but you're actually amplifying the storm. You're staying in bad weather rather than finding shelter. Self-blame. Harshly criticizing yourself. Believing everything is your fault. This seems like it might motivate change, but it actually increases stress, shame, and helplessness. You're creating an internal storm to deal with external storms. Your shelter can't protect you if you're attacking it from the inside. Aggression. Taking stress out on others. Yelling, blaming, attacking. This might provide momentary release, but it damages relationships, one of your most important storm buffers, and often increases guilt and stress afterward. You're weakening your shelter network. The difference between healthy and unhealthy coping often comes down to time. Does this help short-term but harm long-term? Or does it serve you both now and later? A story of changing shelter. There's a woman named Sarah worth knowing about. High-stress job, demanding boss, tight deadlines, constant pressure. When stress hit, and it hit daily, Sarah coped the only way she knew how: wine and avoidance. Come home from work. Pour a large glass of wine, very large, sit on the couch, turn on TV, watch whatever. Think about nothing. Just numb the stress until she could sleep. It worked, temporarily. She felt relief. The storm seemed quiet. But over time she was drinking more. 1 glass became 2. 2 became 3. She needed more wine to get the same numbing effect. Sleep quality declined. She'd pass out but not truly rest. Wake feeling foggy, unrested. Work problems accumulated because she never actually addressed them, just avoided thinking about them. So they grew larger, more urgent, more stressful. Relationships suffered. Friends would call. She wouldn't answer. Too exhausted, too numb, too disconnected. Her health declined. Digestion problems, weight gain, constant fatigue. Her body keeping score even as her mind tried to avoid. One evening, sitting on her couch with her 3rd glass of wine, watching a show she couldn't even follow, Sarah had a moment of clarity. I'm not managing stress. I'm avoiding it. And avoidance is making everything worse. My shelter isn't getting stronger. It's collapsing. And I'm helping it collapse. That was the moment. Not of being fixed, but of seeing clearly, of admitting the truth. She started changing how she coped, walking after work instead of immediately opening wine. Just 20 minutes, just around her neighborhood, moving her body, completing the stress cycle, letting the trapped energy discharge. It was harder initially than wine. Walking didn't numb. It didn't make stress disappear, but it helped process it. Gradually, she'd return from walks feeling lighter, clearer, more settled. She started journaling before bed, just 10 minutes. Just writing whatever she felt, angry, overwhelmed, scared, exhausted, without editing or judging. The writing brought up difficult feelings. That was uncomfortable, but it also released them. Got them out of her body and onto paper where they seemed less overwhelming. She reached out to friends she'd been avoiding. Just a text. "Hey, can we talk? I'm struggling." The vulnerability felt terrifying, but the responses, compassion, support, "I'm here for you," reminded her she wasn't alone in the storm. Her shelter network was still there. She started therapy, just once a week. Just sitting with someone who could help her actually process stress instead of just avoiding it. Gradually, things shifted. Not dramatically, not suddenly, but genuinely. She slept better. Real sleep, not wine-induced passing out. She'd wake feeling actually rested. Work stress didn't disappear, but she addressed problems as they arose instead of letting them accumulate. Smaller storms handled early instead of massive storms avoided until they became catastrophic. Relationships deepened. Connection returned. She wasn't isolated in her collapsing shelter anymore. Her body recovered. Digestion settled. Energy returned. Weight stabilized. Her physical shelter repaired itself when she stopped weakening it with wine. A year later, Sarah could say, "I still have hard days. I still feel stressed. But now I weather storms instead of being overwhelmed by them. I've built better shelter." The shift wasn't about becoming stress-free. It was about coping effectively with inevitable stress. Perhaps Sarah's story resonates. Perhaps you recognize some of your own coping patterns, healthy or unhealthy, strengthening or weakening your shelter. Just noticing without judgment is valuable. Awareness precedes change, or perhaps the story is already fading, becoming dreamlike, barely remembered. That's fine too. Let it fade. Let these strategies blur together. What remains is simple. Some ways of coping help. Some hurt. Learning the difference matters. The importance of recovery. Here's something crucial often overlooked. Coping isn't just about managing stress during storms. It's also about recovery between storms. Your nervous system needs downtime. Periods when stress is low, when you can truly rest, when the weather is calm. Without recovery periods, even healthy coping becomes inadequate. You're weathering storms constantly with no chance to repair your shelter. Modern life often lacks recovery. You're always on, always connected, always available, always doing. The storm might vary in intensity, but it never fully clears. Building in recovery is essential. True rest. Not just sleep, but wakeful rest. Time when you're not productive, not stimulated, not engaged. Just being. Just existing. Letting your nervous system completely stand down. Nature. Time outdoors, especially in natural settings. Trees. Water. Sky. Natural environments profoundly reduce stress. The weather outside can calm the weather inside. Play. Activities done purely for enjoyment, not achievement. Hobbies, games, laughter, play is recovery. It's your nervous system learning. Life isn't all storms. Sometimes it's just fun. Disconnection. Regular breaks from technology, from information, from demands. Letting your attention rest. Giving your storm radar permission to stop scanning. Connection without agenda. Time with people you care about, not to solve problems or accomplish things, but just to be together, just to connect, just to share calm weather. Recovery isn't optional. It's not self-indulgence. It's essential maintenance for your stress system. You can't weather endless storms. You need calm weather to recover. And right now, you're in recovery. This rest, this sleep you're moving toward, this is your nervous system getting the calm weather it needs. This is essential. This matters. Your breathing is so gentle now, so quiet, like the stillness at the center of a calm day. No wind, no rain, just profound, complete stillness. You're in recovery right now. This rest is healing. This matters more than you know. We'll continue with just 2 more territories: understanding resilience, why some people weather storms better, and finally, bringing everything together into practical wisdom for living with stress. But these chapters are whisper quiet. If you're gone, stay gone. Sleep is the ultimate coping strategy. Sleep is where all healing begins. You're safe, you're sheltered. The storms are far away. You're exactly where you should be. Chapter 6. The Resilient Ones. Some people weather storms remarkably well, not because they experience fewer storms. Sometimes they experience more, but because they bounce back, they adapt. They find ways to maintain well-being despite difficulty. This is resilience, and it's not about being tough or unfeeling or invulnerable. It's about specific qualities, skills, and circumstances that buffer against storms. Understanding resilience helps answer a hopeful question. If some people weather storms well, can others learn to do the same? Let's explore what makes shelters strong. What resilience isn't first. Clearing up misconceptions. Resilience isn't invulnerability. Resilient people still feel pain, still struggle, still experience storms. They're not unbreakable. They're not superhuman. They get wet in the rain like everyone else. Resilience isn't constant strength. Resilient people have hard days, moments of overwhelm, times when they need help. They're not always fine. Their shelter gets damaged too. Resilience isn't a fixed trait you either have or don't. It's not genetic destiny. It's a set of qualities and skills that can be developed. You're not born with a strong shelter or a weak one. You build it over time. Resilience isn't bouncing back unchanged. Resilient people are often transformed by difficulty. They grow, adapt, develop new capacities. They bounce forward, not just back. The shelter that emerges after storms may be different from the one before. Perhaps stronger in some ways, with reinforcements and repairs that weren't there originally. So, what is resilience? The capacity to weather significant storms and emerge, perhaps changed, perhaps scarred, but still functioning, still growing, still moving forward. The ability to maintain reasonable well-being despite challenging weather. What strengthens shelters research has identified several factors that make shelters more resilient. Early, secure relationships. People who experienced safe, nurturing relationships early in life, especially with caregivers, tend to weather storms better. They learned the world can be trusted. People can help. When storms come, support is available. This becomes a foundation, a strong base their shelter is built upon. Sense of influence, believing you can affect outcomes. Not controlling everything, but having some agency. Some belief that your actions matter. We discussed this earlier. Perceived control reduces stress. Resilient people focus on what they can influence rather than what they can't. They ask, what's within my power here, and they direct energy there. Realistic optimism. Resilient people tend to be optimistic, but not naively so. They believe difficulties are temporary, specific, and surmountable. They don't believe everything is ruined forever. They believe this is hard now, but it will pass, and I can get through it. Not denial, not toxic positivity, just grounded hope. Problem-solving capacity, the ability to analyze problems, generate solutions, implement strategies. When storms arrive, resilient people actively work on navigating them rather than feeling passively overwhelmed. They might not solve everything, but they do what they can. Emotional awareness. Understanding what you're feeling and having ways to manage intense emotions. Not suppressing feelings, but not being overwhelmed by them either. Like a shelter with proper ventilation. Emotions can flow through rather than building up destructively. Connection network. Strong. Supportive relationships. People you can turn to, who care about you, who offer practical and emotional help. Connection is one of the strongest resilience factors. Shelters linked together are stronger than isolated shelters. When your shelter is damaged, others can help you repair it. Meaning and purpose. Having reasons to persevere. Values that matter. Goals that inspire. Meaning doesn't eliminate suffering, but it makes suffering more bearable. Viktor Frankl survived concentration camps partly through maintaining meaning. There is something yet to do, someone yet to see, purpose yet to fulfill. Meaning is like a shelter's foundation. Even when walls are battered, the foundation holds. Self-compassion. Treating yourself kindly during difficulty. Recognizing that suffering is human. Avoiding harsh self-judgment. Self-compassion increases resilience more than self-criticism. You can't build a strong shelter while attacking it from the inside. Your body knows such deep rest now. Consciousness barely present, like the distant memory of a dream half remembered. There and not there. Present and absent. Building resilience. The hopeful answer, yes. Resilience can be developed. You can't change early experiences, but you can build secure relationships now. You can't change past storms. But you can develop new skills. Ways to strengthen your shelter. Practice with manageable storms. Expose yourself to challenges that stretch you but don't overwhelm you. Like building physical strength through gradually increasing weights, you build psychological resilience through gradually increasing challenges. Small storms teach you that you can weather storms. Success builds confidence for larger weather. Develop emotional understanding. Learn to name emotions. Understand them. Express them healthily. The more you understand your internal weather, the better you can manage it. You can't calm a storm you can't recognize. Build connection. Invest in relationships. Be willing to ask for help. Offer help to others. Connection is both cause and consequence of resilience. It helps you weather storms, and weathering storms together deepens connection. Your shelter is stronger when it's part of a community of shelters. Cultivate meaning. Identify your values. Connect daily actions to larger purposes. Find ways to contribute. Meaning provides motivation to persevere when weather is difficult. It's your shelter's foundation. Practice self-compassion. When you struggle, speak to yourself as you would a dear friend. This is really hard right now. It makes sense that I'm struggling. I'm doing the best I can. This creates internal support when external support isn't available. You become a shelter for yourself. Learn from difficulty. After storms pass, reflect. What helped me get through? What resources did I use? What did I learn about myself? This builds confidence for future challenges. You're teaching yourself, I can weather storms. I have before, I will again. Maintain grounded hope. Not naive optimism, but realistic hope. This is difficult, and I can get through it. I have before. I will again. Hope is like believing clear weather will eventually return, even when you can't see it yet. A story of built resilience. There's a man named David worth knowing. Difficult childhood, abuse, neglect, instability. His early years were constant storms with inadequate shelter. He learned, the world is dangerous. People hurt you. You're worthless. Your shelter is weak. Early adulthood was hard. Addiction, unemployment, failed relationships. He wasn't resilient naturally. How could he be? He'd never learned how. He'd never had the foundation. When storms came, he had no shelter, no coping skills, no support network, just survival, barely. He hit what he calls rock bottom. Homeless, alone, believing he was irredeemably broken, that he'd never be okay, that his shelter was too damaged to ever repair. But gradually, through therapy, through supportive relationships he slowly built, through deliberate practice, through years of work, he developed resilience. He learned his childhood wasn't his fault. Learned his stress responses made sense given his history. Learned he could build secure attachments now even though he didn't have them then. This took years. Wasn't linear. Wasn't easy. He practiced self-compassion. So hard at first, felt false, but gradually became natural. I'm doing the best I can. I'm learning. I'm growing. He built a community. People who cared, who understood, who supported. His shelter network grew from nothing to something substantial. He found meaning through helping others who'd experienced similar trauma. His suffering became a source of purpose. His damaged shelter became template for helping others repair theirs. When storms came, and they still did, job losses, relationship struggles, health scares, he weathered them differently than before. Not perfectly, not without struggle. But he bounced back. He adapted. He persevered. Resilience wasn't his starting point. It was something he built, piece by piece, practice by practice, relationship by relationship, storm by storm. If David could build resilience from such difficult beginnings, most people can strengthen their own resilience from wherever they start. Perhaps this gives you hope. Perhaps you recognize that resilience isn't something you have or don't have. It's something you build, and building can begin any time, even now. Or perhaps these stories are barely reaching you now. Perhaps you're so deep into rest that words are just sounds, meanings dissolved, just the gentle rhythm of voice fading into silence. Let them fade. Let resilience become just a feeling. Some people weather storms well. I might be one of them. Or I might become one through practice. That's hopeful. That's enough. One final chapter remains, bringing everything together, offering practical wisdom for living with stress, for building your shelter, for finding calm even when storms approach. But if you're already asleep, perfect. Stay there. You've learned enough for tonight. Your body is integrating this understanding. Your nervous system is recovering in the calm weather of sleep. You're safe. The weather is calm. Only peace here. You're exactly where you should be. Chapter 7. Finding Calm in the Storm. You've learned so much tonight about stress, the biology, the psychology, the ways it harms, and the ways we cope. But now, let's bring it all together into practical wisdom. How do you actually live with stress? How do you find calm when storms are inevitable? How do you build shelter strong enough to weather modern life? This final territory is about integration, taking understanding and transforming it into lived wisdom. Acceptance, not elimination first, a crucial reframe. The goal isn't eliminating stress, that's impossible. Storms are part of life's weather. They always have been. They always will be. The goal is changing your relationship with stress, learning to weather storms skillfully, building better shelter, recovering between storms, finding moments of calm even when the weather is challenging. Stress will come. You will feel overwhelmed sometimes. That's being human. That's having a nervous system. That's living. The question isn't, how do I never feel stressed? It's, how do I cope effectively when I do? This acceptance itself reduces stress. You stop fighting reality. You stop believing you should be stress-free. You accept, life includes storms, and I can weather them. The 3 weather zones. Think of your stress response as having 3 zones, 3 different weather conditions. The green zone, clear skies. This is calm weather, your baseline. Relaxed, alert, capable. Your nervous system is balanced. You can think clearly, connect with others, handle normal challenges. Heart rate normal, breathing easy, muscles relaxed, mind clear. This is where you want to spend most of your time. Clear skies, calm conditions, pleasant weather. The yellow zone, gathering clouds. This is moderate stress, challenging weather. You're activated but still functioning, heart rate elevated, thoughts faster, body tense but manageable. This can actually enhance performance. This is eustress, the good stress. You're alert, focused, energized. Brief time in yellow zone is adaptive. It's your body saying, something important is happening. Pay attention, rise to the challenge. Storm clouds gathering, but your shelter is holding fine. The red zone, full storm. This is severe stress, overwhelming weather, racing heart, spinning thoughts, panic, shutdown, rage. Your thinking brain is offline. You're in pure survival mode. This is appropriate for genuine danger, but harmful if sustained or frequently triggered by non-life-threatening situations. This is the full storm. Wind howling, rain pounding, thunder crashing. Your shelter is being tested beyond its capacity. Understanding these zones helps you. Recognize where you are. I'm in yellow zone, I'm stressed but okay. Or, I'm in red zone, I need help right now. Identify what moves you between zones. What pushes you from green to yellow, yellow to red? What helps you return from red to yellow, yellow to green? Build skills for each zone. In green, practice maintenance. In yellow, practice healthy coping. In red, practice emergency grounding. The goal, spend more time in green. Handle yellow effectively. Have tools for red zone emergencies. Skills for each zone. Green zone, when weather is calm, prepare for future storms. Build connection. Invest in relationships during good times, so support exists during hard times. Practice stress management. Meditation. Exercise. Healthy sleep. These are preventive medicine. They strengthen your shelter before storms arrive. Engage in recovery. Play. Nature. Rest. Hobbies. These replenish resources. Develop awareness. Notice your stress signals early before reaching red zone. Yellow zone. When weather becomes challenging, deploy healthy coping problem solve if possible. Address controllable stressors directly. Use emotion-focused coping, deep breathing, reframing, seeking support for uncontrollable stressors. Move your body, walk, exercise, dance. Complete the stress cycle through movement. Connect with others. Reach out. Talk. Ask for help. Practice self-compassion. This is hard. It makes sense I'm struggling. What do I need right now? Red zone. When weather becomes overwhelming, focus on immediate safety and calming ground in the present. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. Name 5 things you see. 4 things you can touch. 3 things you hear. 2 things you smell. 1 thing you taste. This interrupts panic, brings you back to here and now. Regulate your body, slow breathing, cold water on face, intense exercise. These directly calm your nervous system. Seek immediate support. Call someone. Text a crisis line. Go somewhere safe. Remind yourself, this is temporary. I've felt like this before and survived. I will get through this. The goal isn't never reaching red zone. It's having tools to return to yellow, then green. Your breathing is so slow now, so peaceful, like the stillness of a clear dawn before any weather arrives. Pure calm, pure rest. The daily practice. Living wisely with stress isn't about occasional interventions. It's about daily practices that maintain your shelter. A simple daily practice. Morning. Set intentions. What might be challenging today? How do I want to respond? What resources do I have? Checking your weather forecast. Preparing your shelter throughout the day. Check in with yourself. What zone am I in? What do I need? Can I address stressors now, or do I need to focus on managing my response? Regular weather checks. Evening. Reflect. What were today's storms? How did I cope? What worked? What would I do differently? What am I grateful for? Then, deliberately, transition to recovery. Wind down, disconnect, prepare for restorative sleep. Ongoing. Maintain practices that prevent stress buildup. Regular exercise. Consistent sleep schedule. Social connection. Activities you enjoy. These aren't luxuries. They're essential shelter maintenance. What calm actually feels like. Many people under chronic stress have forgotten what calm weather actually feels like. Calm is breath that reaches your belly. Full inhale. Complete exhale. No holding. No shallow gasping. Calm is shoulders that rest where they belong. Down, back, relaxed. Not holding, not braced. Calm is a jaw that's loose, teeth slightly apart, tongue soft in your mouth. No grinding, no clenching. Calm is a chest that's open. No band of tightness, no pressure, just space. Room to breathe. Calm is a stomach that's settled. No churning, no nausea, just neutral. Quiet, comfortable. Calm is a mind that can wander without catastrophizing. Thoughts that drift rather than spiral. Space between thoughts where nothing urgent demands attention. This is what you're experiencing right now. Even if you've forgotten what calm feels like. Even if it seems impossibly distant, your body is relearning it right now as you rest here. Your body remembers calm. And as you let go, as you allow sleep to approach, your body is rediscovering what it feels like when the storms pass and clear weather returns. The wisdom of storms. Here's something you've learned tonight that might change how you see your own stress. Your stress response isn't your enemy. It's not a flaw or weakness. It's ancient wisdom. Your body's way of protecting you, mobilizing you, trying to help you survive. Sometimes it overreacts. Sometimes it activates when you don't need it. Sometimes it causes more harm than help, but its intention is always protection. This means you can work with your stress system rather than fighting against it. When your heart races, it's trying to give you energy. When your muscles tense, they're preparing for action. When your thoughts accelerate, you're trying to analyze threat. When you want to avoid, you're trying to protect yourself from overwhelm. These responses make sense. They're not bad. They're not you failing. They're your body doing its best with ancient tools in a modern world. The question isn't, how do I make these responses stop? It's, how do I help my body understand when threat is real versus when it's false alarm? How do I complete the stress cycle my body started? How do I signal safety so my nervous system can stand down? This is compassionate understanding. Your stress isn't an enemy to defeat. It's a protective system that sometimes needs help recalibrating. You can work with it, guide it, help it, partner with it. And that partnership, that working with your body rather than fighting it, that's where real calm begins. Perhaps this wisdom reaches you, or perhaps you're already too deep into sleep to hear it. Either way is fine. The wisdom isn't in the words, but in the practice, the daily living of these principles. Into rest. The most important stress management technique is happening right now. Deep, restorative rest. Your body needs this. Your nervous system is recovering as you sleep. Your shelter is being repaired. Your resources are replenishing. This isn't indulgence. This is necessity. This is how you prepare for tomorrow's weather, whatever it might be. So let everything go now. Let all the information dissolve. Let the concepts fade. Let awareness itself fade. There's nothing more to understand tonight. Nothing more to learn. Nothing more to do. Just this. Breath, darkness, profound stillness. The storms have passed. The weather is calm. Only peace here. Only rest. You're safe. You're held. You're exactly where you should be. Sleep well. Weather tomorrow's weather tomorrow. Tonight, rest.